So do you know those people, those special kinds of people, who are so stupid that when you try to shed some light on their cave, they just don't understand what's going on, so they become enraged like a caged animal? Unfortunately, I come across a lot of those kinds of people. There are a couple of arguments in the body modification community that a lot of these enraged animals use to justify their stupidity. One of which is used quite commonly, and it's the one I'm about to talk about. If you're a part of the body modification community, you've probably heard the phrase, "You don't know what you're doing," or "You don't know what you're talking about," because you don't have enough body modifications for that particular person's liking. Literally what this means is, you don't know anything about this because you don't have or own this thing. Now let's take a moment to use that logic and apply it to some of the other things in the world. If this little phrase was actually true, that means that if you don't speak Spanish, you're not from Spain. Your entire ancestry? Yeah, that's a lie. It's also not possible to be a male gynecologist. You can't even begin comprehending the female genitalia unless you have a pair of ovaries. You don't know anything at all about vegans or their diets unless you are a vegan yourself. And you have to be a veterinarian to know anything about animals at all. Oh yeah, and marine biologists? They're a myth. That never actually happened. It's like Bigfoot. Because in order to understand the anatomy of a whale, you have to, in fact, be a whale. Now, do you understand where I'm coming from when I tell you that if you use this argument, you look extremely stupid and unbelievably ignorant? I have actually had people tell me, "I know more than you do because I have more piercings." Or, "Tell me more about those tattoos you've never had." And the most frequently used, personally because I think it's the easiest to understand, "You don't know what you're talking about because you don't have a lot of body modifications." Now, although this can be true for some people, I'm not saying that it's not entirely false. This is a completely ridiculous point to make if you're trying to argue with somebody who is actually in the body modification community. You don't have to speak Spanish to have Spanish ancestry. You don't have to have a vagina to be a gynecologist. You don't have to be a whale to be a marine biologist, and you certainly do not have to have a specific number of piercings or tattoos to be knowledgeable about them. If this is true, what's the number of piercings that you're supposed to have before you quote-unquote know what you're doing? Do you have to have 2-inch earlobes before you're allowed to give people stretching advice? Is there a party I have to attend before I'm allowed to tell people only surface bars should be used in surface piercings? Do I have to bring a snack? Because I make some pretty awesome guacamole. It doesn't make any sense. It can't be backed up with anything, even to save your life. And point blank period, this argument is ridiculous. It makes you look like an extremely uneducated, closed-minded, insensitive, insufferable piece of shit. I was on Tumblr going through the stretch lobes tag, and I came across a post that said, "I finally got to my goal size, I'm so excited." And at first I was like, yeah, good for you, that must be really awesome and exciting. But the last sentence was, and I quote, "It hurts though." Now for any half-intelligent individual in the body modification community who actually has stretched earlobes, this is a red flag. Stretching is not supposed to hurt, point blank period, ever, end of story. I reblogged said text post saying, stretching is not supposed to hurt. If it hurts, you're doing something wrong. Which is true. This girl literally flipped shit. She vigorously defended herself, saying that it was just a sting, and that you can't stretch without having a little bit of a sting, which is actually untrue. And then proceeded to attempt to insult my intelligence because at the time, I only had stretched earlobes, and therefore, I don't know what I'm doing. Now, I don't know this girl. I do not know her mannerisms. I don't know how she speaks. I don't know how she uses her words, and I don't know her personality. When I read that sentence, I took it literally, as anyone else would. I apologized to the girl for misunderstanding her because obviously I don't know how she uses her words and I was unaware that she was exaggerating. But she kept going and going and going and just would not let up. Now I've come to the realization that she was only doing this because she couldn't handle the thought of not getting the last word, which is what a lot of people have issues with. But I just couldn't understand why she wouldn't leave it alone. She agreed with me that stretching is not supposed to hurt, which you would think would end the conversation there. But nope. Literally attempted insult after attempted insult until I literally just did not want to deal with her stupidity anymore. It literally took me telling her to go the fuck away, I don't want to fucking deal with you, for her to stop attacking me. And all because I told her stretching isn't supposed to hurt, which she agreed with in the first place. The entire time she was trying to justify her opinion that I have no knowledge regarding body modification whatsoever was because she had more than me. That was like it. That was all she had going for her. And when I think about it, even that doesn't really make sense. Because if how heavily modified she was determined her knowledge, that would have ended the conversation right there, because her lobes were at 0 gauge, and my lobes, this one is at 9/16, and this one is at 5/8. This one has been at 5/8 for about, I think, like 5 days now. This was a while ago, though. At the time, they were both 9/16, and they had been there for a month. So with using her logic, The bigger the lobes, the more you know, right? Am I the only one who's confused here? Do you think piercers start off their apprenticeships completely covered in piercings? No. So why is it so hard to agree with me and leave it at that when I say stretching shouldn't hurt? You don't have to be covered in tattoos and have a full slice of metal to know how to properly care for a piercing or a tattoo. You don't have to have 2-inch stretched lobes to be able to give advice about stretching, and having more body modifications than another individual certainly does not make you better or superior to them. Chances are, if you legitimately think like this, you don't know as much as you think you do.